Hello and welcome. My name is Mary and I'm the host of Prologues, a lifestyle podcast where each episode is like a digital journal entry detailing whatever it is I'm going through in life at the moment. I talk about my journey with mental health, relationships, wellness, beauty, personal development, and more. So join me every Monday morning for a reminder that we're all still figuring out life for the first time and you are still in the beginning of your personal story. Welcome back to Prologues. It's been a minute, you guys. It's been a 3-month break. If you missed my season 1 finale episode, I talked to you guys about how I was going on sabbatical for a little personal development, just a nice break. And I'll talk more in this episode about why I chose to do that. But the most recent episode, the season 1 finale, was September 30th. And I always knew I wanted to start fresh in 2025 with a new cover, a new intro, a new philosophy, a new outlook, a new studio, new everything. If you missed the season 1 finale, basically I realized that I just needed a break. I needed a sabbatical. As you guys know, because I've talked about it no less than 30 billion times, I moved countries this year, and I just can't even describe to you what a toll that takes mentally. And every single person I've met who's moved to a different country has told me that it takes at least a year to start to feel settled. And although I am enormously grateful for the opportunity to move, this has always been a dream of mine. I'm very, very happy to be here. I really can't overstate how much it unsettled me and my routine. And I just feel like my life's been chaos. I'm hoping that 2025 is the year of finally starting to feel a little bit more like myself. But I realized over the summer that although my other bits of content, like my YouTube, my Instagram, I'm back on TikTok now, those are a little bit easier to film because I can just speak about the moment. The podcast was getting hard for me to keep up with every single week because I just felt like I had nothing of value to say because I was going through so much internally. And I still am going through things internally, but I felt like I needed space, and that ended up being 3 months, to reorder my thoughts, to do a lot of reflection, to just give myself some self-care time and to refill my cup. You can't pour from an empty cup. And I felt like I was. And I felt like the podcast was suffering because of that, because I was scrambling to put together episodes. I wasn't feeling very passionate about it. I have been doing the podcast for over a year and a half now. And I love the podcast. I love Prologues. And normally it's my favorite platform because I feel like we really get to dive deep. I feel like the podcast is where you get to know me the best out of all my social media platforms. And through it, I've learned so much about you guys. I just feel like it's been a space where we can all really connect. And I felt like I wasn't doing a good job because I was dealing with a lot internally. So I took a sabbatical. And you guys, it was the absolute best thing I could have done. I'm someone who doesn't like, or I feel guilty doing things for myself sometimes. I definitely struggle with toxic productivity. I struggle a lot with imposter syndrome, and I struggle with giving myself breaks until I burn myself out, and then I have to take a massive break when I could have just given myself more grace throughout the entire journey and avoided the need for a massive detox, a massive reset. So I was really nervous to take the break because I didn't want to disappoint any of you. And I just didn't even want to admit to myself that I needed it, but it was the best thing I possibly could have done. I feel very grateful that I was able to do that. I feel like in the space that the sabbatical gave me in that 3 months, I was just able to figure out more of what I want, more of what direction I want my entire life to take from this point out. I'm turning 27 in 2025. I am not ready. Ugh, I feel like I'm having a quarter life crisis, but I also feel like in a way I've been having a quarter life crisis for 2 years now, but it's really kicking up. It's really, really, really rampant. I guess that's even like not even a quarter life crisis, a third of my life crisis. I feel like with the move, I have felt myself change so much, and I usually need a lot of time and space to make sense of my own head, to make sense of my own thoughts. It takes me a very long time to process things, and most of the time I just shove down my feelings and I don't end up processing anything until I have a spiral or a breakdown. And so another thing the break allowed me to do was reflect and just try to figure out, Mary, you're turning 27 next year. What are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your career? You just moved to a different country and you don't feel normal. What's going on? And I feel like, yeah, the last 3 months have just given me a chance to figure out how I would like to approach my life from this point forward. I don't even know how to describe how much I feel like a different person than I was 7 months ago when I moved. The version of myself that I was my whole life, like living in Virginia, even though I went through so many phases of development before this move, This move is one of the biggest changes in my life that I've ever had. And with that has come so much personal change. And it honestly is scary a lot of the time. I feel like the break allowed me to assess what I feel has been missing from my life in the last year, maybe more. And that's mainly been personal enrichment and finding things that make me feel fulfilled. I realized that I really wasn't engaging with anything that was filling my cup, especially since the move. And I'm very grateful for the clarity that I feel like I have now. And I'm really excited. Welcome to season 2. If you're new here, my name's Mary. Welcome to Prologues. This is definitely more of a catch up, a season 2 opener episode. Normal content will resume next week. But for today, I wanted to talk about some lessons I feel like I've learned, my plan for going into 2025, because Happy New Year. I'm recording this on January 2nd. Let me just say, I am not spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically, financially recovered from New Year's Eve. I threw a party for a bunch of our friends, or Matt and I threw a party for a bunch of our friends. And I don't even know how this happened. I just had a little bit too much fun, and yesterday was rough. I realized yesterday that I was so busy planning the party, decorating, getting the food ready, and then hosting that I didn't eat anything all day. And as you know, that's like a death sentence if you're drinking. So yesterday was really rough. And I feel like yesterday was my physical hangover, and today I'm still having the mental, emotional hangover. But I am so excited to be filming. I'm pushing through. If I seem a little low energy, that's why. But I'm really excited. I have so many episodes planned. I'll also tell you a little bit more about my vision for season 2. Most of the content will stay the same. Still going to be talking a lot about mental health, relationships, wellness. I think I might lean more into mental health. I feel like for a while there, I was hesitant to talk too much about mental health in this podcast because I didn't want to limit myself to only being a mental health podcast. I still wanted to do like the fun girly episodes, the, fall trends, the Q&As, manifestation, like the fun ones. And I was worried about niching myself down, but I think some clarity that I have is like, why am I afraid to be someone who talks so much about mental health? I don't want to only be recognized for that online. I still want to give myself the freedom to talk about whatever I want. But I think I went too hard in that direction for a while. I know a lot of you guys have found this podcast or follow me in general because of my openness about my own mental health journey. If you're new here, I have bipolar type 2 and OCD. Every single day of my life is shaped by those conditions. And I think for season 2, I'm going to be a little bit less worried about leaning into that. Don't worry, the fun girly content is still going to be here. Still going to do relationships, wellness, beauty, all the things. But another thing I'd like to add into Prologues for season 2 is more discussions of business, entrepreneurship, financial literacy. We're going to have more guests in season 2. I know most of you prefer the solo episodes, but there's just so many people that I'm blessed to know in my life who have really great life lessons to share about. They've had interesting stories. They own their own businesses. So many powerful women, inspiring women that I'm blessed to know and call friends. I want to have people on the podcast who can talk to you about setting off on your own, moving countries, starting a business, investing, even just people quite a bit older than me who can share life experiences through the lens of perspective that I'm still in my 20s. There's still so much I'm figuring out. So more guests in season 2. Don't worry, still loads of solo episodes, but more guests. And a request I've gotten so much since I started the podcast is we need to have people on to teach the girls how to invest, how to budget, how to save, but in a way that is friendly and accessible and not a boring male podcaster, finance bro type of vibe. So that's the vision for season 2. In the last 3 months, I've kept this running note in my phone of all of the episode topics that I want to explore. And I can't wait. I hope that you guys will enjoy the guests that I have planned for this season as much as I do. I feel like I've been really blessed with this platform and I want to use it to amplify other people who maybe don't have the platform but who are much smarter than me and who have better things to say, quite frankly. Okay, so hello, 2025. The majority of Prologues listeners are around my age, sort of mid-20s, now going into later 20s. I think if I remember correctly, it's like 25 to 34 is the core demographic that listens to Prologues. So I don't know about you guys, but 2025 is feeling like a really different year for me. I feel like I thought my frontal lobe was developing when I was 25, and it was. I went through a lot of shifts at 25, but now going into the year I'll turn 27, the frontal lobe is not done. Or maybe I'm just approaching my Saturn return. Do we need an astrologer on the podcast to warn us all about our Saturn return? Either way, I do think 2025 is a year where I'm going to make a lot of changes. I know that's an easy thing to say at New Year. People, we're consuming so much like resolutions, goals, rebranding your life content right now. I personally have been feeling really overwhelmed with like the 2024 recap videos. I did post my end of year manifestation routine because I know you guys really enjoyed that last year, and I do it every year, but I personally have been feeling really overwhelmed with the amount of let's change our whole lives content that I've seen. At the same time, I do think 2025 is going to be a year where I implement a lot of changes, but I want to do a slow start. Yeah, last year, so many of you guys told me that you treat the spring, is it spring equinox or spring solstice? You treat the first day of spring sort of as your new year because winter is a time for rest. You guys know I'm all about that. Winter's a time for hibernation. Where I live right now, I'm so far north that is such limited daylight hours. Like the sun doesn't come up until 9 in the morning. It's setting at 3:30. Like this is definitely a time for slow, cozy, inward reflection, chill living. So I like the idea of having a slow, gradual start to 2025 and really ramping things up at the start of spring, but still being in the mindset right now of reflecting on 2024 and figuring out what changes you do want to make. I'm also really glad the holidays are over. I don't know if this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but the holidays were really hard for me this year because I didn't go home. We stayed in Scotland. And so I wasn't feeling very holly jolly, and I felt a lot of FOMO. I felt a lot of comparison. I cried a lot on Christmas Day. I just kept trying to tell myself like it's just a day and it'll be over tomorrow, but for whatever reason the holidays were hard. I'm feeling a little bit relieved that they're over and we can just get back into the swing of normal life right now. I'm maybe not today because, as I said, still recovering, but on Monday, the day you're listening to this, I am going to be so happy to just be getting back into normal routine. And like I said, I hope 2025 is a year where I feel a little bit more settled in Scotland and in my new life. And I just want to have a great year with you guys. I want to have a great year personally. I am sending all of you listening a lot of love and luck and best wishes for the year. For this episode, I wanted to chat to you guys about 2025 is the year of. I wanted to tell you about the changes I want to make in 2025, my goals for the year, and I also asked you guys on the podcast Instagram, which is the Prologues podcast on Instagram, what you guys are looking to implement in 2025 and the words and the ideas and concepts that you want to define your year. So I'll go first. 2025 is my year of building independence through solo activities, hobbies, and travel. That's my big mantra for the year. Everyone always says that you grow more confident as you get older. I have always been excited about the idea of being in my 30s because I've always felt like by the time I'm in my 30s, I'll have a more innate sense of peace and being self-assured and confidence. And although I don't think I'm quite there yet, I'm really confident in some areas of my life and not confident and very insecure in other areas of my life. So even though I don't feel like I'm there yet, I feel like in the last couple of months, I've started to see the path forward. I've talked about this a lot with my therapist, and we both agreed that given my personality, who I am, my interests, my fears, my traumas, everything, I'm someone who needs to build confidence within themselves by doing more things on my own and proving to myself that I'm capable, I'm strong, I'm resilient, I don't need anybody else. So 2025 is also going to be a year of a lot of alone time for me, but not in a self-isolation type of way, in a building confidence within myself and proving to myself that I am all I need type of way. And I plan to do that through solo hobbies and solo travel. I want to do a lot of like little solo trips this year, even if it's just an afternoon, like catching the train to a different city on a Saturday and spending a few hours there and then coming home, just doing things alone to build confidence. 2025 is my year of hobbies. I shared that with you guys on some other platform, and a lot of you are on the same page. I love it when I share something that I'm thinking or going through, and it turns out that we're going through the same journey at the same time. I am really aligned with a lot of you guys. It's kind of scary. Some of us are on opposite paths. In fact, some of us are so opposite that I'm very grateful, but surprised that you are even interested in tuning in this podcast because we're going in different directions, which I love you. Thank you for being here. But some of us are also really on the same page. And so 2025 is my year of hobbies. Next week's episode is going to be all about hobbies, so I won't go too in depth about what mine are going to be this year, but I have settled on two main ones: horse riding and piano. I played piano for a long time when I was a kid. I was actually really good, but I stopped when I was a teenager because it wasn't my choice to play piano. It was like something my parents forced me into. And so everyone always told me, if you quit, you'll regret it. When you're an adult, you'll wish you had those skills. And I was like, no, I won't. Adulthood will never come. I'm going to be young forever. Turns out now I'm an adult and I'm like, yeah, I really wish I'd kept up with that skill because it was something I was genuinely good at. I'm not being self-deprecating when I say there's not that many things that I'm genuinely great at. There's a few things, but not that many things. And that was a skill I had that I completely lost for like 10, 15 years. So I've gotten back into piano. I bought a keyboard. I've been taking lessons through an app on my phone, and I've been really shocked at how fast it's been coming back. So I'm already feeling a little sense of pride in that because I'm picking it back up. I'm learning. I actually need to get my acrylics taken off because they're growing out and now they're too long to comfortably play piano. So I guess 2025 is also going to be a year of short nails for me so I can throw myself into piano. But yeah, it's been a big confidence boost already, just feeling the skills coming back and knowing that I am putting time into something. And then the other one is going to be horse riding. I never took lessons as a kid. We knew a family that had horses, so I would sometimes go ride their horses, and I took like lessons from their teenage daughter, but lessons, quote unquote, never real lessons. I never had any technique. I never really learned how to ride. I just had lessons with like their 15-year-old daughter. So for the first time, I want to take real lessons. I've already had one, and I have two more in January so far. And I'll talk about this next week more in the hobby episode, but those are the two that I've settled on, and I'm really excited. And then when it comes to solo trips, the great thing about Scotland is that, or the UK in general, Europe in general, is that the train system is so much better than it is in the US. Public transport in general is a lot easier to navigate. And so I realized I have the capability of hopping on the train and going to Glasgow, going even down to England. It takes 40 minutes on the train to get to England from here. And there's just so many cities, cute towns, cute villages that I could explore. I've got weekends. I'm also married, and I feel like when you're married or you're in a long-term relationship, you live with someone, you just tend to sacrifice alone time because you like hanging out with your person. And I love hanging out with Matt. But I think it's so necessary to still foster a real sense of independence within yourself. I have an entire Prologues episode on maintaining a sense of independence when you're in a relationship. And for whatever reason, it's just on my heart right now. I want to do more little things by myself. I want to explore by myself. I want to go on more solo dates. I just want to get to know myself more. You guys know one of my favorite quotes is, if you're lonely when you're alone, then you're in bad company. And 2025 is going to be a year of me investing in myself so that I love hanging out with myself, so that I'm comfortable and confident on my own. And I think this is also going to be great for my relationships, because I think when you're the most happy with yourself, you're able to show a better version, a more loving version, a more understanding version of yourself to everyone around you as well. So I think that this could only be a good thing. It also helps that I am new to this country, so I'm still in the process of making friends. And I'm an introverted person, I'm a homebody, but everybody needs friends, everybody needs community. And although I'm in the process of building friendships with people, I also want to build a real sense of community within myself. I feel like that's kind of oxymoronic. How can you have community with one person? But you know what I mean? I want to build a sense of trust and love and respect with myself. So that's mine. 2025 is the year of building confidence and independence through solo activities, hobbies, and travel. So that's me. But I asked you guys what 2025 is your year for. And I wanted to share some with you, maybe for inspiration, maybe to show you that you're not alone in whatever you're going through, that all the girlies are kind of going through the same thing right now. And some of these were really good. So 2025 is a year of peace. Yeah, I think 2024 for me was a year where I just knew too much about other people. I don't want to know everyone's business, and I feel like I knew too many people's business in 2024. And for what purpose? Like, I don't need to know things that don't concern me. I don't need to be in the know. In fact, I don't want to be in the know about anything. If a friend or a loved one chooses to share something with me, then I'll always be ready to listen. But I don't think I need to seek out knowing details of other people's lives. I just felt like I knew too much. Bring back secrets, bring back privacy. And I need to do my part by not being curious. And again, it's not that I'm not going to take an interest in my loved ones' lives. If they ever want to share something or like it's not like I'm never going to ask them a question again or anything like that, but I just knew too much. And I also want to choose peace this year. And by peace, I mean staying in my own lane. I got my head down, staying in my own lane this year. I don't want to know anything. 2025 is the year of body being tea. Love that. 2025 is the year of buying a house. That's really exciting. Home ownership is something that has always seemed so far away to me. And now I'm sitting here realizing, like, wow, I'm turning 27, Matt's turning 29. Like, we're getting to that age where we're starting to think about a house. And you guys know the dream I have for like my big country house out in the middle of nowhere, loads of pets, loads of animals, and in an ideal world, no neighbors. I'd love to be able to step onto the front porch of my house and not see anybody and just see nature. That's a dream. But even though we've talked about that for such a long time, we've had this vague notion, this vague plan of buying a house one day, we've known that's still years away. And I think it probably is still at least a year or two away right now, but we're starting to really save a lot, think about it more seriously, make sure everything is lined up, our ducks are in a row for when the time does come to buy a house. I'm really excited for all of you who are going to be entering home ownership this year. It's scary. It feels scary, so I'm proud of you. The year of financial discipline. I feel this as well. I spent way too much money in 2024, and I know that a lot of that was because of the move, but I just had my end of year wrap up meeting with my accountant, and he told me some numbers that shook me to my core. I feel like when you move, you're furnishing a new place, you're starting over, especially with a move like this where we had to get rid of so much of our stuff before moving. It just really adds up. And I told Matt the other day that I don't want to make any big purchases. I don't want anything major going on in 2025. I need to get back into a strict budget. My budget was blown out of the water this year, again, because of the move. But the year before that, I paid for a wedding. And then this year or last year, it was the move. So it's been 2 big years. I want to start investing again and just getting back on track. So I'm 100% on the same page. That's why I want someone to come on the podcast to talk about financial literacy and financial discipline, because I'm not getting any younger and nothing's getting less expensive. So, discipline in general. I agree. I think I've shared this quote with you guys that discipline is a form of self-love, or the highest form of self-love, because you're making promises to yourself and you're keeping them, and it's a way to build trust within yourself. And I'm not going to lie, when my mental health is bad, all discipline goes out the window. And sometimes that's fine because you just have to rest and take care of yourself. But sometimes I do think, even though my mental health might not be great, I do just need to get on with it. And again, not all the time. I'm very pro rest. I'm very pro taking care of yourself. But because I do, maybe this is because I struggle with toxic productivity, but I do just think sometimes I can't afford to let bad mental health days derail me like they do sometimes. And I want to be better about keeping promises to myself no matter how I'm feeling. Because at the end of the day, I'm bipolar and I have OCD, and I will probably have mental health conditions and issues for the rest of my entire life. So I really can't afford to let it derail me. And some of that's out of my control, obviously, but I need to do what I can. I need to be a little bit better and not tough love myself per se. Actually, no, yeah. No, yeah, I need to tough love myself a little bit more. I think this year, again, I didn't do a great job with different things in my life. And I agree, discipline in general for 2025. Handwriting letters for birthdays and holidays. That's really sweet. I love the idea of keeping older traditions alive. I feel like with social media these days, or just the internet in general, technology, the magic of doing things manually is gone sometimes. And so I love the idea of preserving traditions, sending Christmas letters or Christmas cards, handwriting things. I love it. Consistency and routine, because consistency doesn't equal boring. I love being boring because boring means peace. And I feel like I used to be someone who was in a constant state of chaos. And grant, this has been a chaotic year for me, so maybe not the best time for me to be sharing this. But when I'm in a good place, my routine is very consistent, and it probably does look super boring from the outside. I don't leave my house that much. I do the same thing every single day, but it's peaceful and it's comforting. And I love the idea of reminding yourself that just because you might be doing similar things every day, just because you might be, just because exciting things might not be happening every single day, doesn't mean life is bad. And maybe consistency isn't boring, but what's wrong with being boring? Boring sounds like stability. You say boring, I hear stable. So I want more of that. Applying the lessons I learned in 2024, getting a PhD, actively chasing more excitement and happiness after finding peace and rest in 2024. Okay, so a little bit different than the consistency one, but I really like this. It sounds like this person took the time to work on themselves and find that inner stability in 2024. And now you're ready to get back out there. That's not me this year. That's not going to be my vibe, but I'm really proud of you because it sounds like you really worked on yourself in 2024. That's inspiring. And I also love the idea that, it's okay if every single year isn't the best year of your life. I think something I've struggled with all these 2024 recap videos that I've seen is feeling like I didn't do enough in 2024, or just I had so many hard moments and bad mental health moments in 2024. But I'm trying to give myself grace because it doesn't matter if it wasn't the best year of my life. I still did really cool things. I still had a lot of experiences I'm grateful for. I made lots of great memories. And it's okay if there are years that are just filler years. And again, it's a crazy thing to say when I'm just moved to a different country. But 2025, I think, is going to be more of a filler year, and I'm making peace with that. I don't need it to be the best year of all time. I don't need 2024 to be the best year. It wasn't the best year. It was a year, again, I'm so grateful for so many things that happened, but it wasn't the best year of my life. And I feel like you get to the end of the year and you see everyone making their Instagram posts and saying this was the best year of my entire life. And it's hard to not feel a sense of comparison and to not feel sad. And I've struggled with that a lot the last couple of days, but I think it's okay to just have a year of quiet. And I love the idea that we can go in stages. I love the idea that you completely decide the course of your life and can decide whenever to change it. Somebody sent in growing my relationship with God. You guys are well aware of my past history with religion, but I never want anyone who is religious who listens to the podcast to know my feelings about religion because of my experiences with it and think that I don't support you. I do support you. And if that is on your heart, that 2025 needs to be a year of growing your relationship in your religion and growing your faith, I'm very happy for you. I never want you guys to think I don't support you because of my experiences. I do support you. Keeping promises to myself, that goes along with the discipline. No more people pleasing. I don't think I'm a people pleaser. I think I'm too confrontational as a person, maybe argumentative as a person to really be a people pleaser. I think I should be more of a people pleaser. I have a very stubborn personality and I'm not afraid of confrontation. I made an entire episode about being an angry girl and I really am. But I have friends who are people pleasers and they really struggle to stand up for themselves, either in their romantic relationships or at work or things like that. They struggle to stand up for themselves and they struggle with keeping their boundaries. And so I love that you are recognizing that you're a people pleaser and you want to take the steps to change that. Reframing, growth, healing, protecting peace. Someone sent in Mary becoming an equestrian. Stay tuned. Growing a personal business. And a lot of people said starting their businesses after years of wanting to. I think that's really exciting. And that goes along with season 2 of the podcast where I want to talk about business more. I never thought I would work for myself or I would be entrepreneurial in any way. That wasn't my life plan. I sort of fell into it with social media. And because that was never my life plan, I never studied business in school. I never learned about marketing or personal finance or anything like that. So I've had to learn a lot of hard lessons and teach myself a lot in my 20s. And it's very daunting. But I also love everyone who has a dream, has a goal, and is brave enough to take a shot on themselves. It's really scary striking out on your own and starting to work for yourself because the risk of failure can be quite daunting when you're relying on yourself and yourself only to make your living. And I feel like so many people have great business ideas but are too scared to start, and the world is deprived of your great business idea because you're too nervous. So if that's you, if you've had a business idea for years and you just haven't taken the plunge, this is your year, 2025. New hobbies, totally aligned. Becoming a pet mom, getting pregnant, not my journey, excited for you. Homemade, this person just said homemade in quotation marks. And I like that because I'm assuming that means just like maybe cooking more at home, making your own bread, more crafts, maybe hand making Christmas or birthday gifts. Again, they didn't specify, they just said homemade, but I like that. That's developing new skills. Again, it's like preserving older traditions, especially when it comes to arts and crafts. Think about the fact that all of our grandmothers and great grandmothers knew how to sew, and yet our generation, for the most part, doesn't know how to sew. That's a practical life skill. I can sew enough to like sew a button back on or repair a hole in a dress or something, but it's crazy to think that sewing used to be a much more widely held skill than it is right now. And I like the idea of preserving that. And then someone said it's the year of not over observing. This kind of goes along with me saying I don't want to know anybody's business this year. I know too much. I've seen too much. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. My brain's at capacity. If you're also an emotionally intuitive person or you pick up on people's vibes, this can be really stressful, especially in group social settings, because I feel like I'm just hyper aware of everyone else's mood. And maybe if there's like any tension between people, I pick it up really quickly. It's too much. It's too much. I don't like being that observant in that way. And again, it's the year of keeping my head down and staying in my lane. So those are a few things that you guys sent in that you want to define your year. And I feel like at the start of the year, it's easy to create a lot of momentum for yourself. And what I don't want us to do is set all these goals for ourselves and then maybe set expectations that are too high and are unrealistic and then burn out. So that's why I personally am going to have a slow start to the year, a slow build up. The spring is when I think I'll really feel a new life and a new energy. But we're in the run up right now. We're still hibernating, we're still cozy, we're still resting, but we're starting to plan. At least I'm starting to plan. Is there anything else I need to tell you guys that you missed because I was gone for 3 months? The hobbies is a big one. I'm really excited to build some new skills, build confidence. I think this is going to be really great for my mental health and my personal development. So coming to the realization that I need more hobbies has been, I think, one of the biggest points of clarity I've had in the last 3 months. Oh, something I do need to tell you guys, big life update. My therapist pivoted her career and I don't have a therapist anymore. We had our last session in December. She let me know at the start of December, and then 3 weeks later we had our last session. I'm very excited for her because she's changing her whole career and she's doing something different. But I've worked with my therapist for years, and as of right now, I don't have a therapist, and that's a massive life update I need to give you guys. I don't know how to function without therapy, so I'm really nervous for myself. I need to find another therapist, but also I'm really scared to find a new therapist because you have to start over. And the great thing about staying with a therapist long term is they just know so much of your lore and they get to know you so deeply. And the thought of having to start over, having to explain my entire life story, having to summarize all my childhood trauma, having to explain all the life lessons I've learned just in the last 3 years, being with a new therapist who hasn't seen me go through some of these things in real time in the last 3 years is so daunting. And I'm nervous, you guys. And I cried a lot after our last session because I'm really grateful for my therapist and all the work she did with me. And I feel like I wouldn't be sitting here today without our sessions and without the work we did together over the last couple of years. So that's kind of rocked my whole world, to be honest. So this really feels like a hiccup in my mental health journey. I don't know what I'm going to do about it. I know that I need therapy, but it feels wrong to start with a new therapist even though she's not doing it anymore. It feels like cheating on her. I feel like emotionally, am I even ready to go there with a new person? Am I ready to open up? Am I ready to trust somebody else? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. But also, I will spiral if I don't have a therapist. So follow along for that journey because I think this is going to be a little bit rocky for a while. That about wraps it up for the start of season 2. It feels right to be sitting here and recording. I'm glad I took the time I did. I'm glad I'm starting anew in January. I'm proud of myself for recognizing that I needed a break and taking it. And I hope that you love what's to come. I hope you love the new cover. Shout out to Nicole Weber Design and Annie, who's actually a listener of Prologues, for doing the photography. I'll link both of them in the show notes in case you have a branding project or you need a photographer in the LA area. I'm really glad that someone who likes the podcast shot the cover because I feel like Annie understood my vision and my hope for the shoot really well because she was familiar with the podcast already. So shout out to you. I hope you guys are excited about season 2. It really made my day every single time one of you messaged me to say that you missed the podcast, even though I wasn't happy that you were missing it. I'm not happy that you're unhappy, but it really warmed my heart to see so many people message me and reach out and say that they were looking forward to the podcast coming back because it's become a part of your weekly routine. It means so much to me. I know I say this all the time, but I can't believe that anyone actually wants to sit here and listen to me talk. So thank you for tuning in. We're going to be back right on schedule every single Monday. I've got a really great feeling about this. So thank you for listening. Make sure you come back next week. We're going to be talking all about hobbies. I'm getting ready to record this right after this. And I hope the start to your 2025 is going well. And if you are also someone who's really glad the holidays are over, we made it, okay? We made it through. All right, I'll talk to you next week. Bye.